Sometimes the biggest stories come from the most unexpected places. In Nigeria, it was a simple change of clothes for a government agency that sparked this huge nationwide controversy. But this wasn't really about fashion. No, this story exposed some really deep-seated issues about money, power, and respect. And it all kicked off with a new uniform. So things really blew up back in 2018. And this social media post from a customs officer, Samuel Afiku, it just perfectly captures the feeling on the ground. We are sick and tired of stories. It wasn't just some complaint. This was a public outcry from the very people who were supposed to be wearing this new uniform. All right, so let's start with the uniform that caused all of the trouble. In April 2018, the Nigeria Customs Service, which you'll hear me call the NCS, announced they were rolling out a new look. On the surface, it sounds pretty routine, but this new uniform was about to spark an intense backlash. So what did this new look like? Well, it was a clean white top paired with the standard issue ash-colored trousers and a tie. Now, management was very clear that this was an additional uniform, not a replacement for the old ones. But that detail didn't matter. Its introduction just immediately hit a nerve with both the officers and the public. And the backlash was instant. And, it wasn't about whether people liked the style or not. It was about practicality and priorities. People were pointing out the obvious. White is a really tough color to keep clean on the job. And a tie? That felt pretty strange for a paramilitary force. But the biggest complaint, the one you heard over and over, was that this was a misplaced priority. A totally unnecessary expense when officers had much, much more pressing needs. Of course, the leadership at the NCS, well, they had a totally different story. They didn't see the new uniform as a distraction at all. For them, it was a crucial step towards modernizing the entire service. Their whole argument was about progress and perception. They said, look, this is a more comfortable option for officers working in hot offices or at airports. But it was more than that. They said it was part of a bigger reform effort to project an image of high integrity and, in their exact words, to shore up the image of the service. And what makes this whole thing so interesting is that this backlash was the complete opposite of what happened just a few years earlier. See, back in 2014, the service introduced a new camouflage uniform for combat operations, and officers loved it. It was widely praised as a morale booster. So that past success just made the anger over this new white uniform feel even bigger. Okay, so this is where we get to the real heart of the issue. The anger, the frustration, it wasn't actually about a white shirt. That uniform had become a really powerful symbol for much deeper, unresolved problems simmering within the Customs Service. And this quote, it really says it all. It's from an officer who had to stay anonymous, probably for fear of getting in trouble for speaking out. He said, "Our welfare should be paramount, not introducing new uniform. Is introducing new uniform part of our welfare that they promised us?" I mean, that really gets to the heart of it, right? Officers felt that management was just focused on how things looked on the outside while completely ignoring the basic promises they had made to their own people. And just look at this stark contrast between what officers were demanding and what was actually happening. They wanted better welfare, salary increases, their allowances paid on time, and promotions based on merit. But the reality, especially for junior ranks, was grim. The starting monthly salary for a customs assistant was around 30,000 naira. To put that in perspective, that was less than $100 at the time. On top of that, allowances were often late, and promotions were widely seen as unfair. So you might be thinking, okay, but why all this fuss over a uniform? Well, to really get it, you have to look back at the history here, because this was not an isolated incident. The customs uniform had, time and time again, become this charged symbol of power, authority, and even conflict. This timeline really paints a picture, doesn't it? You can see a pattern emerging. In 2014, the uniform is a positive thing, a tool for morale. But then you jump to 2017, and it's a political flashpoint when the head of the entire service refuses to even wear it. And then, bam, 2018, it becomes the symbol of management neglecting its own people. It's clearly way more than just clothes. Yeah, that 2017 standoff was a huge national story. The Comptroller General, Hamid Ali, who was a retired army colonel, kept showing up to the Nigerian Senate in civilian clothes. His argument was basically, hey, I'm a political appointee, I don't have to wear the uniform. Well, the senators saw that as a massive sign of disrespect to the very institution they were supposed to be overseeing.
It tied the uniform directly to ideas of identity and the entire chain of command.
So why did things like pay and promotions get so heated? Why does all this frustration run so deep? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the system itself, the rigid structure these officers work within every single day. You see, the Nigeria Customs Service isn't just your typical government agency. It's what's called a paramilitary organization. And what that means is that it's not run like a regular office. It's built on a strict foundation of hierarchy, rank, and discipline, a lot like the military. And in a system like this, everything, and I mean everything, your salary, your authority, the respect you get, it's all tied to your rank. You progress up this very rigid ladder. So when officers feel that promotions are being handed out unfairly, or that their basic welfare is being ignored while the top brass is focused on appearances, well, it strikes at the very core of their career and their whole sense of worth in the organization.
So at the end of the day, this whole story about a simple white uniform leaves us with a much bigger, more critical question, doesn't it? It shows us that, yeah, a uniform can be a powerful symbol of pride and integrity, but that symbolism is pretty much hollow if the people who are actually wearing it don't feel valued, respected, and cared for first.